Namaste everyone, my name is Hanuman Dass and I'm from an organization called Go Dharmic, and it's a great pleasure to be with you here today. And I want to bring to your attention something that I feel is super important. While love is the most powerful force in the world, and this is not something that we teach our children in school, it's not something that we explore enough, it's not something that we talk about enough to our family members, to our loved ones, to our friends. When was the last time you told your friends that you love them? Or your family members? This is super important. Why love is the most powerful force in the world, and why it's moved me into action, and why I hope it will move each one of you and all of us to make it the most profound and important principle of your life. Okay, first I want to tell you about a little story about something that happened to me and my family in 2008. We had a terrible burglary in our home. There was a group of thugs that came running into our home. My father was ambushed as he came into the house, smashed to the ground. My wife was at home, heavily pregnant with our firstborn child, 7 months pregnant. And they tied her up. My father was bashed. The weapon that you can see here, I was smashed on the back of the head with it. There was blood all over the floor. My elderly grandmother, who was sleeping upstairs in her bed, this was at like 10:30 at night, was dragged down the stairs. Imagine this horrific situation in my hometown where I was born in Luton. My mother was tied up. My cousin was beaten. There was blood all over the floor. And these guys were there to try and ambush us for the whole night. They wanted to take everything that we had. They wanted to extract wealth, jewelry, anything they could, laptops, and they had weapons. And as I lied there on the floor in front of our temple at home, our small mandir in our house, I was lying with my face in blood. And I had this big hit on the back of my head. And I felt nothing but anger. Nothing but anger just filled my heart. I just wanted to get these people. How could they do this to us? And we were very fortunate that my wife and my mother grabbed their phone and called the police. So the police heard everything. They came quickly to the scene, and within 10 minutes, 2 of the 3 perpetrators were caught. And as I went back in the ambulance to the hospital where I had to stay to get my concussion checked, I just felt this rage within me. And it made my heart beat fast, it made me feel sick inside, and I just wanted them to suffer. But then, a few months later, something happened. We went to the court where the adjudication of these criminals was taking place. And as I looked them in the eyes, I could see nothing. It was cold, like looking at a zombie or a ghost. There was nobody there in their eyes. Those people were completely disconnected and lacking love. And although I felt that anger, when I looked behind me, one of the criminals' father was sitting there. And he had tears coming out of his eyes for his son. At that moment, my anger softened. I felt some compassion for that father, that he is going through something with his son who's lost, disconnected. He's no longer there. I could feel it. And that compassion, I want to argue, is the essence of what makes us who we are. So I was very happy. I was working as a trader, family life very good, financial markets were successful. But then I came across a wonderful spiritual teacher by the name of Ram Dass. He was formerly known as Richard Alpert. And Richard Alpert spent time with Neem Karoli Baba, who said love is the strongest medicine. It's more powerful than electricity. Richard Alpert really intrigued me because I was coming from an Indian background. But I grew up in the UK. My mother was also born in the UK, so we spent multiple generations out. So I didn't have this interest in Indian philosophy or Indian traditions really that much, just beyond what we practice at home. But Richard Alpert was a senior professor at Harvard University, the highest seat of academia in the world. And he said, you know what? At Harvard, we're just as neurotic as everybody else. And everyone looks to us as to how we should think, how should we think in the mind. But he said, India has the maps of consciousness that can heal the world. And he got that when he spent time with this great saint, Neem Karoli Baba, whose love and compassion truly moved him. And Ram Dass, when we were fortunate to spend time with him, he was truly the happiest and most loving human being that I've ever come across. Nobody, no matter how successful a person I met in the financial markets, was ever coming close to that happiness, that love. It filled his heart with joy. And one of my friends, Sister Jayanti in England, she said, anger is not natural to us. Think about it. The last time you were angry, your heart beats faster, you perhaps feel unwell, you sweat, you feel uncomfortable. But when you feel love, you feel happy. You feel calm. The heart becomes at rest. And so being in that most natural loving state is so crucial for us. So I want to tell you about a very special individual who also in the 1960s went up to the Himalayas from Harvard, another professor by the name of Daniel Goleman. Some of you may have heard of EI, emotional intelligence. Harvard Business Review says EI is more important than IQ. Emotional intelligence. Now he gathered these ideas from being up in the Himalayas. He didn't learn them in the US. He was sitting with Neem Karoli Baba and he said, when I met Maharaji, all I felt was a sea of love, an ocean of love, totally off of the map of Western psychology. It was clear to me that we had missed something truly great about human potential. Now, I consider this central idea to be India's greatest export. It's not IT skills. It's not even wonderful Indian food. It's this dharma of love, the universal value of compassion for all living beings. But that can be quite philosophical and wide-minding and kind of, something that we think of beyond practical. But Daniel Goleman, in his groundbreaking work and research, said, when I compared star performers with average ones in senior leadership, nearly 90% of the difference between them was attributed to these skills of emotional intelligence, how they treated one another, how kind were they to their workers and their staff and their team members, how loving were they. And that's what we'll remember in the end. So Daniel Goleman really inspired me. Another wonderful human being that I'd like to speak about, who was also there in the Himalayas, there in the 60s, learning from Indian wisdom, this idea of love, being powerful and being able to transform the world, is Larry Brilliant. Larry Brilliant is credited with seeing the last case of smallpox in the world, in India. And he worked tirelessly with the World Health Organization to eradicate this dreadful disease, the first ever disease in the history of humanity to be eradicated. Now imagine that, Dr. Larry Brilliant. Smallpox has killed more 200 to 300 million people every single war that humanity has ever had. Smallpox has killed more people. But yet this incredible human being gave up everything to change the world, but out of love. It was love that moved him. Now, it's not just a modern phenomenon. It's not just something from these amazing people like Ram Dass and Larry and Daniel Goleman, who came to India to learn this wisdom to then go and execute in the world. I'm deeply inspired by, if we look at Ashoka, the great emperor of India, and we see these edicts all over India, which really we only knew about from the last few hundred years, what the meaning of those were. And these wonderful edicts that Ashoka, when he was ruling, put all across the country. And today there are many billionaires we know, like some of them own social media platforms without naming them. They talk about being inspired by great emperors like Genghis Khan. But I wish that people will learn more about Ashoka, because after he killed so many people on the battlefield of Kalinga, he said, now we should work for love. This is one of the words from his edicts. I have made the following arrangements for the welfare of all living beings. I have dedicated planting of trees, the digging of wells, the building of roads, so that all beings, whether they be human or animal, can benefit from. This is for all of humanity. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. May all beings be happy and free from suffering. That is the great message here. I think we can truly reenact what Ashoka was working on. 300 BC. Let us start that project again from here in India and spread that to the whole world so that love can prevail in all directions. Even back then, he sent people all the way to Greece. Now we have easy transportation. We can move everywhere. So we do some special work at our organization, Go Dharmic. And I want to bring to your attention this wonderful image of Gandhi when he came to the UK and he's in Manchester with the mill workers. And being here in this town of industry, we can think back to that time when Manchester was a place of great clothing industry. And Gandhi was telling people in India to burn the Western clothes, to not wear Western clothes, throw them in the fire. But yet when he went to Manchester, all of the people loved him. All of the poor people of Manchester. Isn't it incredibly moving? We're cheering when he came because he moved by love. He moved by love, and they were transformed by that feeling. It's so incredible. So every year we have groups of people who cycle the Salt March route from Ahmedabad to Dandi every December, and they do it for the environment. Just like he did when he made salt to tackle that incredible tax law that crippled so many people. Now, this is what we need to do. And one of the great Gandhians, Vinoba Bhave, who many of you know, walked throughout the whole of India barefoot, just pleading with the rich to give some land to the landless and help support them so that they may also grow crops and thrive and survive. I read that even criminals placed their weapons at his feet. Such was his incredible power of love. And his book, his biography is called Moved by Love, which also is so incredible. Now, where are we at as human beings when we're spending $2.46 trillion on military, but less than 0.3% is spent on peace-building efforts in the world? Where is our priorities as human beings? Now, can we here call our politicians to account to start the first peace ministry, the ministry of Dharma, ministry of love and compassion? Why is love not spoken about in Parliament? And compassion and kindness? The Dalai Lama said, non-violence, ahimsa, is India's greatest export. And for me, this idea ahimsa is nothing other than the expression of love. So we need to flip this chart around from changing global military spend to global peace spend. Let us spend peace missionaries to all parts of the globe to spread love, not to transform their ideas. Ashoka never did that. He just wanted them to practice compassion and tolerance and kindness for other living beings. Coming to the practical element now of Go Dharmic's work. We're doing environmental projects, which I'll speak about one of them shortly. We've been disaster relief efforts in 185 disasters. All of these volunteers, staff members and teams, based on this idea of love, based on the idea of Dharma, are spreading kindness throughout the world. And we need your help to do more. We've been doing education projects, health and sanitation, food poverty alleviation, and advocating for love and compassion wherever we can. To date, Go Dharmic has distributed 25 million meals to vulnerable people, been at 185 disasters around the world. And it's not always about the item or the highest social impact decision that you rank on a chart. Just when I was a trader, you used to risk 1 unit of capital to try to make 3 units. Here, love is like a candle that just spreads like a wildfire. And when I was standing on the border of Ukraine when the war started with Russia, and we were distributing sweets to children. So they had walked through forests, traveled miles to come away and do this. But then you hand some sweets to a child, and their face lights up with a huge smile. And it was so beautiful to see. We've had Uber give us free rides to help people across the whole of India when people were struggling. So all of these amazing thousands of stories of people who are doing transformative action with love. The Dharma Forest in the Sundarbans is an amazing project where we're trying to recreate the forest, to plant those mangrove trees, to increase biodiversity, to bring back the habitat for the tigers that live there and all of the beautiful nature that's there, but also to act as protective barriers so that the people who are living there are not so affected by climate change, which is playing a tremendous role. And this is perhaps the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced, and we need every one of us to act. So we have this framework. The framework has been created based on Indian values and largely can be found in the Mahabharata, which is a wellspring of values: compassion, non-harming, friendship, truth, selfless service, charity, peace, and ultimately all love. This is Dharma. If we can imbibe these human values, and they are not specific to any one tradition or people, because the Dharma of sugar is to be sweet. The Dharma of fire is to produce heat or to produce light. But the Dharma of humanity, friends, is to be humane. That's our Dharma. We are here to make this world more humane. It's a very basic idea. And none of us are perfect, but it's about our intention. Whether Gandhi or Ashoka or Yudhishthir, all of them had their errors, but their heart was for making this world a better place. So the Go Dharmic community now is 10,000 strong. All over the world there are projects going. Can we make this a global humanitarian organization based on these Indian values? The beloved community is a global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. It is a dream of a world where poverty, hunger, and violence will be no more. These are the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke about the beloved community. Let us all be part of that community of love. Let it spread like a wildfire. And finally, I just want to share something with you that Ram Dass said when we were together. And I have this beautiful text that I've been working on for the last 10 years with him, called Be Yourself, which will be a book coming out soon. But he said something that I wish for each of you to take away from today, if there was one thing you could. I want my life to be a statement of love and compassion. Where it's not, that is where my work lies. Thank you.